Welcome to the Daily Allegory through astrological divination. We're going to start with an affirmation of the day. I am protected, unshakable, and beyond manipulation. Every lie collapses under truth. Every hidden tactic is exposed, and I move forward with peace, proof, and powerful allies. My life and loved ones remain untouchable. Today's story starts in a woman's final spiral before arrest. A jealous woman obsessed with destroying the man who rejected her detonates into a frantic smear campaign blitz spawning fake Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok accounts to stalk him and his girlfriend, then recruiting bitter exes willing to harass for attention or payment. When both victims block the burner profile, she escalates into stalking by proxy, following the girlfriend's followers, sliding into her friend's DMs with obviously fabricated screenshots, and when confronted, tracking down workplaces to contact coworkers in a last-ditch attempt to sabotage reputations and their stability. Now, the twist is this isn't new behavior. It's an ongoing problem. She spent years terrorizing him through isolation tactics, coercion, identity theft, financial manipulation, and a long con built around secrets she believed would keep him trapped. But the real secret she's been protecting is already known, because the man has quietly been cooperating with federal investigators, and every reckless escalation becomes another time-stamped receipt. By the time she thinks she's cornering him, she's actually mapping her own network, handing agents the connections, patterns, and communications needed to build a sweeping civil rights RICO and RICO takedown that turns her obsession into the evidence that ends her empire. Today's story is called Orbit of the Lion. She didn't start by trying to destroy him. Not out loud. Not at first. At first, she tried to own the story, because if she could own the story, she could own everyone who listened to it. Her jealousy wasn't loud, it was devotional. A private religion built around the fact that he wanted nothing to do with her and that his no was a boundary she couldn't seduce, bully, or purchase. With Jupiter in Cancer, she wore a convincing mask of wounded innocence. Soft voice, I'm scared. I'm trying to heal. Please pray for me. And people fed her sympathy like it was a currency. But underneath, the Leo stellium, Venus, Mars, Sun, Mercury burned like a spotlight turned inward. Pride, obsession, performance, and a mind that needed an audience even for cruelty. When he cut contact completely, she began multiplying. One fake account became 3. 3 became 8. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, new names, new faces, same hungry gaze behind the glass. She followed him, then she followed his girlfriend. When they blocked her, she interpreted the block as proof of a conspiracy. They're hiding something. Oh, how dare they? And her behavior turned frantic, ritualistic, and convulsive. She started following the girlfriend's followers, then the followers' friends, threading herself into social circles like smoke. The DMs came next, fabricated screenshots with no timestamps, no logic, just enough insinuation to make sense, to make someone second guess what they already knew. When those friends told her off, she escalated into sabotage by proxy, tracking down workplaces and messaging coworkers, trying to detonate stability in the only way she understood: humiliation, isolation, and damage. This wasn't new. This was her final act. For years, she had terrorized him, isolating him, threatening what mattered most, poisoning his life with fear and control. She kept him compliant by implying consequences would land on his children if he didn't behave. Or shut the fuck up was a very common phrase used. She stole banking information, created financial chaos, diverted mail to keep him blind to paperwork that could free him, and hovering over it all was her endgame: a fraudulent policy, a secret payout, a clean disappearance she could sell as fate. She believed she was writing the only future available to him. But she never noticed what Jupiter trine Saturn in the 7th was doing in the background, building an alliance that she couldn't break. See, he wasn't actually alone. It only appeared that way. He had a partner who believed him, anchored him, documented the pattern, and refused to be baited into public chaos. The more she escalated, the more protective structure held. And the more her obsession flared, the more her old wound, Jupiter square Chiron, bled through her tactics. Humiliation disguised as righteousness, envy disguised as concern for his mental health, the desperate need to punish someone for being absolutely and inherently unbothered and uninterested. Then to Pisces tide turned. The North Node, Saturn, Neptune, stellium, and Pisces made her favorite weapon, fog, betray her. See, lies began dissolving too fast to maintain. Allies started misremembering the script. Screenshots didn't match timelines. People she recruited, she had exes that he hadn't spoken to in years, the kind willing to harass for a little bit of attention and cash. People that'll do anything strange for some change. Started turning on each other, accusing each other, panicking, if you will. What she thought was a loyal swarm was actually a brittle little circle held together by spite and envy. Better bitches, I think is what the kids call it. And in that collapse, she made the mistake that would end her. She kept proving the pattern. See, this man for years had previously reached out to people and reported these things because something wasn't right with the things that were going wrong, and it was dismissed and ignored as psychosis or delusion because there wasn't proof or evidence at that time. But because the secret she was desperate to bury, the documents, the connections, the deeper network she believed no one had, wasn't buried at all. It had copies. See, one thing people do, especially when they run off of psychological pattern behavior, is they go back to square one. So it's inevitable that they redo their pattern at some point. This is understanding human psychology. It's basic. Now, these things have trails. Digital, physical, whatever. There isn't a hacker good enough on Earth that can erase most digital footprints, especially when forensics are involved. It had been sitting in the hands of federal investigators the entire time. Not as rumor, but as evidence. The documents that they thought nobody knew about were known about. And they were only getting diverted mail that was flagged. See, the man had known for quite a long time, quietly cooperating, quietly surviving, letting her reveal the full architecture of her world. Her final days weren't her triumph. They were her most useful contributions to the case against her. Special Operation Steel didn't need her to confess. It needed her to repeat herself. See, this thing had carried on from multiple counties over multiple years across many different jurisdictions, if you will. Every burner account was a fingerprint. Every smear attempt was a node. Every sudden outreach to a coworker was a link between people that she thought was untraceable. Quantum surveillance, if you will. It wasn't a magic ray. It was an inevitability. Patterns snapping into place. Correlations tightening, networks mapping themselves for obsession. She believed chaos made her invisible. Instead, chaos made her legible. And when the first arrest began, quietly, at the edges, she didn't understand. Thrown off, confused. She thought it was coincidence. She thought it was persecution. She thought she could escalate one last time and force reality to obey her. She had this misconception that she was above God. Factually stated she was above God. But reality doesn't obey narcissists. It documents them. By the time the warrants hit her circle, the community that once entertained her stories suddenly demanded answers, not because they grew a conscience, but because their silence now looked like a public moral failure. The same people who called her a good woman began writing the roles, scrambling to distance themselves from the monster that she'd been in plain sight. Because now they were implicated in a federal case. Now they were implicated, linked to, through association thereof, an accomplice to federal crimes. And she, lion-hearted evermore, in the worst way, finally realized the unbearable truth. The man she tried to destroy wasn't her prey. He was the trap. And her obsession, every lie, every fake account, every frantic escalation, was the steel that closed around her. We're going to end this with the invocation of Orbit of the Lion. But a lion's flame, Sun, Mars, Venus, and Mercury crowned in Leo, I call forth courage without panic, clarity without rage, and a will that cannot be bent by provocation. By Jupiter in Cancer, guardian of home and blood, set a living boundary around my loved ones. No threat may cross it. No fear may root itself in it. No hand may reach what is not theirs. By Jupiter trine Saturn in the 7th, seal my alliances in strength and sobriety. Let true partners stand. Let false faces fall away. and let every bond built on coercion dissolve. By Jupiter square Chiron, turn the wound into wisdom. Let every attempt to shame me become testimony, every scar become proof, and every pain point become a compass towards justice. By the north node with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, wash away deception like ink in rain. Let lies lose their structure. Let fog lift from witnesses' eyes, and let what was hidden be made undeniable. I call upon the principle of steel. The quiet record, the pattern behavior, the unbreakable chain. The request has been made. The ring is now closed. With the divine authority I embody, this will be law that underlies law. And so it is. Hopefully you found it entertaining. I know we sure do.